ToyLeet assembly. Step up and see flash, it's the ToyLeet crew. We're the kings of the game, yeah, the chosen few. From the shadows we rise with the rarest finds. Collect them, respect them, we're one of a kind. ToyLeet, ready the streets, elite with the feats in this collectible feast. ToyLeet, never the street, when the heart of the beat, we're all playmates me. Check our stacks, our collection supreme. Limited editions, every collector's dream. We're the myths, we're the legends, with every drop. Taking over the block, we never stop. In the alleys where the echoes play. ToyLeet's the name, hear what we say. Rising, thriving, always thriving. In our realm we're always diving. ToyLeet, bringing in the street, the live ToyLeet, setting the pace. With a snap of the case and a click of the lock, ToyLeet's on top and we're ready to rock. Collecting more than just toys, we're up. We're up. We're up. ToyLeet, never the street, when the heart of the beat, we're all playmates me. We're the dream, we're the ToyLeet, what's the throne, cause in this zone, we never admit defeat. Come for the thrill, stay for the chase, ToyLeet's in the place, set in the pace.
What's up? What's up?
What's up? How's it going?
We're doing good, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Multitasking as always, but I am doing well.
What's up, Tedward?
Hello, friends. I'm
Special
also
guest from Helidope's
multitasking.
voice.
I'm trying to
What, you
talk
got a
in the
business to
chat.
run or
So
something?
we had technical issues before I came in where I couldn't see anything, and then I realized I'm in the wrong fucking browser. And
You know what it is,
you're
Ted?
it, huh?
Well, what it is that we're better when you don't see us. We look way better. So
Yeah.
that's the intention. You're not supposed to see us.
You know, you sounded sexy in the ear, but now that I'm here,
Travis
I
has
got
a face
built for radio.
hold on, I got to bring my chair down. I got to be on level with you guys.
There you go.
My chair
can
doesn't
come up
go
like you.
anymore. Yeah, let's do that. Let's just all be
Be
right
foreheads.
here.
Giant foreheads.
Let's be ToyLeet.
Trying to get the new branding in and everything, but it's like there's so much to this whole thing.
Hold on, let me tell you, nothing sucks more than running a fucking live stream and having to push a bunch of fucking buttons, and then you got slides and you got all this bullshit, and you tell yourself, oh no, I'll get this going right before we go fucking live, and then you go live and you're scrambling to write 20 fucking questions for a fucking lightning round. You don't know what the fuck you're doing. Yeah,
But you
no, I
guys do
feel
it well. You do it well. That's all that matters.
Thank you. I feel
It's funny. I always tell Ed, I'm like, hey, let's get on the stream like 15, 20 minutes ahead of time. We'll go through things and literally leave it to me like 5 minutes after I'm supposed to be there to say, hey, I'm still running behind. I'll be there in a minute. It's because I'm working on some last minute slide corrections and stuff. So, which then I open up the slides to preview them with him. And I'm like, dude, I messed up. I made a mistake here. Let's go back. So
It's all good, man. That's what the fun part about doing this show is.
Awesome. So we got a special guest here this week. We got Ted Lee, as I'll refer to him. And he's joining us from Helidope Toys. He for some reason wanted to join this week. I don't know why. It might be because it's been like 2 years in the making, but we'll get more into that shortly. So Ed, how's your week been, man?
My week has been fantastic. We are, I won't say I'm kind of off for the week.
Okay.
I have to check emails and stuff like that, but I don't have to actually show up to work. So it's a good week.
Nice.
I went out to the woods yesterday for the first time this year because it's been, snowing or raining. So, and today it's snowing again.
Sure.
So, I mean, I did get out to the woods
That's
yesterday because it was a beautiful 65 degrees. So
That's great. That's great. That's awesome. How about yourself, Ted?
I don't know what day it is.
It is ToyLeet Day, which is
it's
a
toilet
Tuesday.
day. That's right.
Look, WrestleMania weekend is coming up.
Man.
I'm just getting through that. And you know what? It's kind of tainted because I'm like, fuck yeah, 420, WrestleMania, but then also Easter. And what, I have to eat fucking ham? No, fuck this day. I'm fucking
Dude, my
getting
wife makes an
frozen pizza.
amazing ham.
Oh, dude, I love ham, man. What's the matter with you?
Yeah, my wife makes an
On
amazing brown sugar
WrestleMania
spiral
day?
ham.
Well,
I'm okay with it,
Fucking
dude.
eat
It's
ham on WrestleMania day.
well, if you eat ham early enough, then you can go binge
Yeah.
on the beer and everything else for the WrestleMania later.
and honestly, the way I'm treating it is like the special snacks are all going to be on day one because this is a multi-day event now. So we've got Saturday where I'll be enjoying, like the nachos and the pretzels and dip and that type of stuff. And then on day two, we'll be celebrating WrestleMeaster Day, which is going to be an Easter dinner, which is going to lead us into an awesome
I don't know if I
WrestleMania
like
because-
WrestleMeaster.
Yeah, it's a no sell for me, friend.
I don't know, man. If we can get the return of Brock Lesnar this week, and I'll be pumped. But we'll see. He has risen. I mean, wait, never mind. I'm sorry. I probably offended a ton of people just now.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, we'll
Yeah,
see.
I'm out.
WrestleMania
I'm
should be a fun
offended.
weekend. So that should be a busy week. There's like hours and hours and hours of show this week of wrestling. Like every day there's something. So yeah, it's an exciting week for me. Ted, as you're similarly enjoying that, I'm sure. I'm sure I'll be messaging you Saturday and Sunday. So make sure you're watching it live so that I don't spoil things for you, because I'll try not to.
I'll do my best to not fall asleep at 8:30.
Tedward, does your wife make you go on date night on WrestleMania Saturday?
Ooh, that's a good question. I haven't thought about that. She goes to bed at 8:32, so I'm fine. The important
Yeah,
stuff.
but you
who
usually
cares?
have a few pops and then you pass out.
That is what happens. That's why I can't watch UFC. Every UFC pay-per-view, I get so excited. I come home, I sit on the couch, and boom, lights out. It's 2 a.m. and I go, why am I all wet and why is my beer bottle empty? It is because it has been blessed upon me.
I guess it's better to fall asleep with a full beer than a lit cigar. So,
Dude, I have not watched a UFC pay-per-view in months. Thankfully, they're free. Thank you, Travis.
Hey, chill, dude. Chill. That is not me. I have no way, shape, or form associated with that. I just connect common people.
that's right. So, Travis, did you get anything
Yes.
this week?
Ted, did you mail me anything this week? That is the question.
No. Tariffs got us late.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not sitting on much right now. I've been building rather than buying. So that has been my focus the last little bit. So I'm looking around the room here, double checking, and nothing new and fresh has arrived. And I think you kind of said the same thing, right, Ed?
Yeah. But, Ted, you're not supposed to blame the tariffs. You're supposed to say that the cargo ship got lost in the sea and it fell off the boat and nobody knows where it's at.
Somebody sunk our battleship.
That's right. There you go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I don't
Speaking of
have
Battleship,
anything
if you
new.
like board games, check out our last week's show.
That's a good play. That was a good one. Yes. No, so I don't think we have a ToyLeet or toilet segment because we didn't pick up anything new. And I mean, I have a history of like recanting my toilet drops anyway, so it gets awkward when I'm reaching in and pull that crap out. So let's stay off the ToyLeet this week and let's hit the chat up and see who's here.
Fantastic. We can do that. First and the greatest, I'll let Mr. Ted introduce this guy.
Oh, Fatred.
There it
Wait, is that a pineapple, Fatred? Are you swinging, bro?
He's swinging. And
That's a medal.
swinging. What is it?
It's a medal. It's a first place medal.
Oh,
It was a
it looked like a pineapple. And then he put more of them down here, so he was really swinging. Doing some Hank Williams Jr. and we were swinging.
Swinging from the ceiling.
And we got Roll Keeper in the house. What's up? Hello, Roll Keeper.
Hold on,
And
time
then-
out. I'm mad at Roll Keeper. Roll Keeper, where the hell have you been? Are you working on Sunday nights, bro? I haven't seen you in weeks. You're
I believe he is
breaking
working Sundays.
my heart. You're my favorite fucking human. What are you doing? Moderating something? All right, carry on.
And then there's this guy.
Are you talking about this guy?
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money.
Maybe Shane will come back this weekend. That would be cool.
Hey, what's up, man? What's up? And we got Brian, Endless Fables, in the house. What's up, Brian? And Kenzo's Creations. Hello, everyone. And if you're not watching Kenzo's on Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, good show. Join in. He's doing some giveaway stuff. Not really giveaways, but gifts for his people. So let's put it that way. And G.I. Jetman. What's up, everybody? What's up, G.I. Jetman? Thanks for coming in. And this guy pulling double duty, Ted Darkclaw. Hello, friend.
What's up?
Dude, first of all, fuck that guy. What a bunch of fucking
I know.
scammers.
This
those
guy thinks
fuckers
he's something special. He thinks he's hot shit on a silver platter, and he's just a cold fart on a paper plate.
are. God, nobody even recognizes him in the Target aisles. Fucking get off your high horse, bro.
That's right. Tony's Figs. What's up, Tony?
I was in their show listening in earlier while I was prepping for the show.
Oh yeah, Tony was in his
And
what's the show called?
it's the Jerks
Jerks. Yeah, it's the
with
Jerks. Like Steve
with Punk.
Martin.
Yeah,
Punk.
it's Jerks. It's Jerks with Punk. I was in there listening in for a bit while I was prepping for the show, but also finished up my taxes, because if you didn't remember and you're here in the good old United States of America, you owe your taxes today, fools.
That's right.
That's
I did.
April 15th.
I
So you have
did
2.5
mine, yeah.
hours.
I did mine and my daughter's yesterday, and then I did my daughter's boyfriend's today. So
Hold on, I have to
mine
do
and
hella
my
dope
mom's
taxes real quick. Don't mind me.
and,
That's not a joke.
and we got TD3 Trooper in the house, or as we all know him, Troy Dotson. What's up, my man?
I gotta say, having a business helps out drastically though with those taxes, man,
Yeah.
for sure.
Ted Darklaw,
Definitely.
how is Roll Keeper your favorite human when I'm selling product for you?
Lawrence, I thought we had a mutual agreement, right? We both watch 5 minutes of each other's shows and then we fall asleep on the couch. I thought that's what we agreed upon. Yeah, here we are.
It sounds like a
Yeah,
fair
but the
deal.
problem, but the problem is, Ted, the agreement from Punk was you have to watch 5 minutes of his show when he gets to the main topic, which means you have to wait 3.5 hours to get there, which means you're already asleep.
Well, he mean last night where he jumped in early and I said, oh shit, I gotta stay awake a little bit longer. And then he went in
Yeah.
toy news.
He threw everybody
And I was
off last night. He did topic,
Oh god.
news, then topic. It was like, whoa.
I love
Don't
it.
overdo
I love it.
It was hard to sleep, let me tell you.
And
deal.
we got Vaz Zone in the house. I'm guessing that it's Tiffany. Hi, Tiffany.
Thank you for joining.
Yes. And Roll Keeper says, Ted, yes, I am working. I don't get off till 11 on Sundays.
We will go longer.
That's what she
Yes.
said.
No, we won't. That's not. That's not.
You went pretty long
That's
the
what
other
she
night
also said.
with the Odd Frog guys. So
Yeah. No, Vonner was wild. All of them were wild. That was a
Yeah.
great show.
Dude, that was a great
Loved
show.
them.
I told you they
I
were good
messaged
guys,
you on
man. I
Sunday
told
night
you.
after that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that was really good. I really enjoyed
they
that.
were ready.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And
deal.
that's it for the chat, other than Tiffany saying, hello, it is her.
Awesome. Cool. So let's jump into how do I display this properly? I think it's going to have to be this one
That's fine. That works.
so we can get everybody. So tonight, let's just kind of cover the basics. If you just joined us for the first time, we appreciate your attention. You have more attention span than I do, probably. We are the ToyLeet, Ed and myself, and then we also have Ted, 1/4 of the official ToyLeet. And what we have is a show we do every week Typically, it's Ed and I. We talk about what our passion is. It's plastic, it's toys, it's adjacent toys, and kind of the whole industry and the community. We love to shout people out, which is a throwback to Ed's origination of this show with his son. Kind of staying true to that. Where we shout out somebody doing something cool. We also talk about toy news, and then we go into the main topic, which this week it's essentially it's showcasing your toys, right? It's an opportunity to dive into something that we all think about in some way, but we all kind of do probably a little differently, and it's kind of displaying your collection. We all spend time, hunting these figures down, whether it's going to our boys over at Helidope Toys or going into an Ollie's or Target to try to get them on the cheap. We're all doing that. We're all investing in them and trying to pose them, and we try to show them off. Some of us keep them on our desks, some of us keep them on the shelves, things like that, right? But it's an art form, really. And from in some cases, which is full blown toy rooms, to just a compact corner in the back of your office, you display them differently and you personalize it your way. Little pieces of art. So we'll be diving in a little bit into the how you showcase your collection, how Ed and I do. Talk to Ted about how he showcases his. When he's not trying to, shill his shit, how is he displaying his shit? So we'll dive into that a little bit. Going back to kind of one of the regular segments here, shout out from the Crick. So shout out from the Crick this week, and let me just do this.
I'm by the creek where the water flows. We're shouting out to those who know. Spreading joy, sharing love. ToyLeet fam, you rise above. Shout out from the creek, you're the best. Hype up the heroes who passed the test.
That song makes me happy every time I hear it.
It's just got joyfulness to it, man. I can't even kill it. Like, I hate pausing it shortly, but I know Fatrid and Nolan and those guys are all gonna rip me a new one.
Like this right here. Already, man. 6 minutes later. Like, you have anything else to do, Fatrid? Shut up.
Oh, Fatrid.
Oh, Fatrid.
So
anyway, this week's shout out from the Crick goes to Terrence's next toy. Everybody that's in the Mythic community definitely knows Terrence, and a lot of us that are in a lot of other communities definitely know Terrence as well. Terrence is a great guy. He's always willing to help everybody out. He's jumped in and helped out with the 1,000 Swigs for last year's Mythic Legions, Legions Con, and he's helping out PPG, Purple Gang, or PGG, I should say, Purple Gang with some of their marketing and stuff. And Terrence is one of those guys, man. He goes to all these cons and has tons of people saying, hey, pick this up for me, pick this up for me. And he comes home with, just a wagon or two full of action figures to send out to everybody. At Toylanta, he picked me up the Operation Monster Force Visible. I can't remember what it's called now. I have it right here.
it's the blue guy. It's the ghost.
Yeah. The optically compromised. The eraser from the guys at Fresh Home Fiction, and I had it. He got home from the con. I probably had it 2 or 3 days later, 4 days later, whatever it is. So anybody that's not following Terrence's Instagram, he does have a YouTube channel. He doesn't really do much with it other than enjoy other people's stuff and support everybody else in the community, which is another great thing that Terrence does. And along with Terrence, his girlfriend Gina, they both are rock stars in this community. So go and support those two. Travis, got anything to add?
Yeah, I'm actually going to pull something up real quick because Fatrid asked if there's a place to fill out the form and nominate someone. So I'd say no, there's not a form and there won't ever be a form. But what there is our Instagram channel, our Instagram feed and our account there. So send us a message over there. If there's someone you think are doing really cool things in the community, do that there. But yeah, that would be great. We definitely would love to hear from others that, would recommend someone that's doing something cool. Being honest, Ed was lucky to have somebody because I didn't have somebody at the top of my mind tonight. So we're definitely open to others.
We've shouted out a lot of people because I've been doing this for 3 years now, almost 2.5, and we've shouted out a lot of people. So,
absolutely.
There's people that we don't remember if we did or not. So, shout out if you guys have nominations, feel free to send them to us. We'll definitely take those into consideration for sure. Ted, you know Terrence?
Please do.
I do know Terrence.
You have anything to add about how awesome of an individual he is?
So I've never met Terrence. We are Facebook friends, and I think I'm a part of at least one of his groups. All I can say is I know he's out there. He's out there. He's out there on that grind. And, you know, if you're talking about somebody who is a pillar or the backbone of the community, Terrence is out there putting in the work. So, even though I haven't met him, I have certainly seen his name around a lot in a positive way. So
Yes.
that says something.
Perfect. Thank you. I love this. Tiffany says she nominates herself. We'll shout you out, Tiffany. Just you, though. We'll say just half of the Vaz zone. The other half, not so much. He doesn't come and participate, so you know we only get you. Not really. He's a good guy. I love him. So real quick, Allison Troy has joined us. Greetings, Allison. And Tony says, showcase, baby. Yeah, he's got his set up like a museum, that guy. And we have a couple of nominations for Kenzo already. So let's throw this on over to the news desk with Mr. Wonderful.
I'm going to do this. I'll need my news team at my side.
I still love that. I still love it. So this is Mr. Wonderful reporting for ToyLeet News Network. And this week, the week of April 15th, we've only got a few things we're going to cover. But what we like to do is we like to focus on the news in the independent toy community and those independent toy community adjacent items. This week, we don't have a ton, but we'll start out with our Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. I know I threw them under the bus a little bit last week, giving Brickman a little bit of a hard time as there hadn't been much of an update from them, and he promised an update and then didn't produce one, and I think it nudged him a little bit to provide an update. And what they did is they did talk about it was a really helpful update, and I think it was perfectly timed when you really consider things, with the tariffs and everything, and a lot of that stuff potentially impacting the upcoming Wave 1 brawlers and the further future waves, because there could be impacts to it. I know they're trying to do their best to mitigate the cost to the consumer, and maybe a delay will help with that and things will settle down a little bit. But the production delays have pushed Wave 1 brawler figures from the spring originally intended to the fall of 2025 due to some scheduling conflicts and a queue of other projects ahead of Spiro Toys. Tooling is halfway done with the rest expected by May. So they are making progress, but it's looking like it's going to be on track for a later Q3-ish for 2025. I was going to say 2024, but yes, for 2025. That's the Wave 1. They also gave some updates on Wave 2 through 5, because as they talked about many, many weeks and months ago when this all, and actually I think we're sitting right around a year anniversary from when that Kickstarter funded, if I recall. I think it was like April 17th. I only know that because I had to write that off on my taxes today. So there is a wave that they, it's been about a year since they took and they succeeded with it, but they did mention that if there's delays in one wave, it's going to have a trickle-down effect and impact other waves. So waves 2 through 5 are all now also delayed with updated timelines to be shared once Wave 1 begins production this summer. So they haven't announced the timeline that they're going to be going with, but they have definitely let us know that there will be changes forthcoming for that. And I already kind of alluded to this. On top of the scheduling issues, tariffs on Chinese imports have skyrocketed to around 145%. This was dated back to, when Brick had provided the update. I'll be honest, I don't know what that's at anymore. At this point, it could be 500%. I wouldn't know. I've just kind of figured I'm not getting any plastic for a bit. But it's creating some major uncertainty across the toy industry, and Spiro is monitoring the situation closely, but remains committed to delivering for the backers regardless. So we'll continue to keep our eye out for that, but I think that's a continued approach for all. I think, Ted, you already covered that briefly, just with a highlight of, not a lot coming in right now because of it. So we've seen it with the mainstream guys. Now the independent toy folks are dealing with the same. Your boy, what was his name, on Sunday night mentioned this too, which I thought was tremendous. Vonner talked about how this is an opportunity that everyone's on the same playing field from your Mattels, your Hasbros, your Spiro Toys and folks because of this import. It kind of balances things out to some degree for a lot of folks. Very interested in that approach and seeing how that plays out over the next 6 to 8 months for sure, as an independent toy fan. Moving on to Creative Beast Studios. They just had a couple of photos up. I grabbed one of them. It's the Stegosaurus figure that has arrived. It's a prototype that came directly from the factory, which does mark a key milestone in the development process. It is still in resin, so this is not injected, molded plastic or anything. This is still a resin print. Full articulation, though. Range of movement won't be confirmed until the plastic version is produced, but the progress is looking great. You can see more pictures directly at their Instagram. Moving on to one of our favorite topics is Four Horsemen, because they've been doing amazing things. And one of the more recent posts they made was around the 2025 has really been a huge start for Mythic Legion. They've been extremely busy. We've all been paying heavy attention to them because of the dragon, let's be honest. But let's not forget about Necronominus, if I said that anywhere near the right way. But that's one of their most successful waves. It was a long time coming, but everyone's been very, very pleased with that. They've got, like I said, the Baether campaign, but now the attention, which I'm extremely excited for. I know you are, Ed, and Ted. I'm not sure where you stand on this, but as a retailer, I'm sure you're very excited for the Rising Suns wave to come. Maybe not sooner, maybe a little later, so some stuff gets figured out with the importing aspect of it. But I know that this is going to be a huge wave. I went all in on it. I got the bear. I got all those little guys, and very excited for that. But you can see here is a factory test shot for the bear. I'm not even going to try to say his name. The bear, Bodvar, right? It's the other one, Regarion Umbra. I'm murdering names here, folks. Leaving bodies on the floor. But there's some test shots here, and this wave is expected to ship later this year. But Four Horsemen will continue to keep updates as it progresses. Moving on to another update from Four Horsemen is that they did announce the opening of the sale of tickets and the hotel blocks available for Legions Con 2025, November 8th and 9th. You can get your 2-day passes for just $40 in advance of July 1st, I think is what it was. Normally, or the regular price will jump to $50. I do believe, I could be wrong, but I think the hotel where the venue is hosting it is sold out. And if it hasn't, it will really soon. They were very tight on rooms already, and they have the whole venue booked. But there are some surrounding ones that you can attend to too. But they'll continue to have the 4-H figure fair, the Legion's Armory experience, and we're all sure to expect some bigger reveals at G-Con. Ed, do you think we'll get a dragon announcement again this year? You think they'll hold tight? You think they'll give us a smaller one? I mean, it was really successful. No,
but
a small dragon.
To add to the dragon news, it is now available for pre-order at BBTS.
Was going to point that out for like $800, but one thing they did point out is that it does not include any tariff increases in that pricing, so you could potentially be paying a boatload more, which is going to hurt people if that's still that situation. I know for anyone that bought it directly, Four Horsemen did confirm anyone that had purchased it that it wasn't going to change. They were going to honor that pricing, from my understanding, is what I last read. So. That's awesome.
It's 2 years away, so the tariffs, it could be all settled, and the dust
hopefully things level out. Exactly. Yep. And then last but not least, for the Four Horsemen, they recently posted an update of their schedule. Basically, it's action packed. It's con season right now, right? We got Joe Fest coming up in a few months, which we'll talk a little bit about, right, Ed? But you've got them specifically at ToyCon New Jersey, Chicago Toy Show, Lee Valley, West Coast Mythic Meetup. You've also got, Shop the Curiosity, IshCon, Maryland Toy Expo, and Joe Fest coming up over, the next several months. And I mean, that's only what they're involved in through the end of June. So you'll be able to catch, Jeremy and a ton of the, 4-H folks in person at those events where they're, hustling their wares, kind of taking some tips from our boy Ted and shilling their shit. Moving on to the Fresh Monkey Fiction, just a small update that I saw from them. Captain Eagle, picture kind of cut off based on the way I scraped it, but you can see here in the 1/18th scale, this is for you, Fatred. There's a new wave coming for the World Eagle Force, and this was one of the first reveals with Captain Eagle. They did say they will be giving a weekly update to kind of build out the hype in advance of the pre-order launch. It'll be interesting to see how this goes because it's another 1/18th. It is Fresh Monkey Fiction, and we have heard from those folks around some of the import stuff and pulling back on things like the long box heroes last week.
The Fresh Monkey Fiction won't cancel the Eagle Force line. It's a very successful line for them. So more successful than the long box heroes line.
It'll be interesting to see how they handle the pricing model for
sure.
Then.
Absolutely.
How
they're normally like $24.99 now. We'll see what they go up to with the tariff.
Gotcha. Moving on to Patriot Force upcoming Kickstarter. I think it's scheduled for March 30th or May 30th. I'm sorry, May 30th. They showed some previews of their plate carriers, being semi-modular with some removable straps and accessories, swappable parts, kind of giving you the ability to give to your figures some customizable loadouts. These are just some prototype 3D printed and hand-painted proof of concepts and such. And then each will have multiple patch options, extra pouches, variations in comms gear to let you get unique setups across each of the figures in the lineup. And then they also shared the airdrop ammunition weapons pack here, which is one of the first stretch goals. So once they hit the first one, this will be the first stretch goal released. And you can see they've got the removable suppressors, magazines, just some additional weapons that you can get for your 1/12th military lines. Again, we'll be keeping our eye close on this one as it is that 1/12th military. We want to see this one succeed, but also keep our eyes on how this goes with it being a Kickstarter in the current toy and import concerns. And second to last here, we'll cover Savage Crucible. This is a huge win for me. A Taste of the Abyss, Savage Crucible's second full-color graphic novel, will be available soon in the print-only format at savagecrucible.com. This issue specifically will focus on a Jaeger, one of the key characters that comes out of Wave 2, and includes a 6-page of exclusive teasers for fans. They have asked fans once they receive these not to spoil anything on those 6 pages for a few weeks, maybe a month or so, out of respect for those that may not get them immediately, to keep the hype real. I'm excited about this. You know my love for lore, and I read the first one, and it was an awesome read. And it's because of these graphic novels that I'm in over my head with fantasy collectibles and figures. So I'm very excited for this one. Last but not least is Valaverse. They've been doing a lot of teasing. I assume that's because they don't want to announce anything for pre-order or anything just yet, because they're waiting for the tariff stuff as we continue to echo across all the news. But they previewed some new knives and what looked to be a new figure with some different gear on them. Very interested in this figure that's blocked out at the face, but you can see some of the gear, including the strap that goes around the chest and over the back and has a couple different knife holders. And you can see 4 different knives that go in that carrying equipment. Seems to be quite a bit of buzz around it. I was reading the chat and the comments in there, and some folks were using, asking for more blades and specifically giving nicknames to this character as like Stabby McStabberson and Pandora's cousin, already making the rounds. So along with the other kind of previews that Valaverse has been sharing, he continues to leave us wondering. And that's all I got this week with the news, Ed.
That's going to do it for all of us here at Channel 4 News. You stay classy.
So, I think we have a couple pointing to the news. Allison says the only thing really question in the news is who stole the Supergirls. And Brian added to the news with that the AWOC comic is coming out next week, issue number 6. And that
he is correct, and I totally left that one off my news because it wasn't in the weekly update yet. And Jason had just posted that, I think, from Spiro Toys a day or two ago. And I should have paid attention because Brian messaged me immediately after the post went live and was like, "Hey, did you see this? The next comic's coming." And I'm like, "Yeah." So
and then
I'll definitely be grabbing that.
Before we head into the regular segment, Tiffany says yes, it's okay to do the shout out just to her because it is all about her.
Awesome.
And Northern Nomad's here. What's up, Nomad?
What's up, man?
And Tiffany says she's working on some custom walks for the Chicago show. That's awesome. Yeah, I believe her Vaz Zone is going to have a table at the Chicago show. I believe they said. I think it's what they said.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, showing
That's
off some of
cool.
their customs, selling some of them, things like that. And
Would love to see those for sure.
yeah, Allison saying that it balances it out that nobody is buying anything from anyone at this point in time. Yeah, it's pretty close to what's going on. Thanos Copter's in the house. What's up, Thanos?
What's up, man? It just got dirty, or I'm sorry, it just got not safe for work.
Yeah. And would anybody know if a bus ticket to Joe Fest would be an ungodly price? From where you're at, J.I. Jetman, probably talking.
I mean, if you're in Europe, it's going to be pricey.
Yeah.
I don't know what it costs where you are.
Probably $120. He's close to where you are.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Vazone is going to have a booth there. Awesome. Make sure you guys share some pictures when you get there. That'd be awesome to see. And you can lead a dog to water, but you can't lead Mr. Wonderful anywhere. This is true, Brian.
Nope.
This is true. It's like,
no, he gets lost because he's like, ooh, butterfly,
squirrel,
butterfly,
yep,
rabbit, bunny, yep, Easter,
Yep.
WrestleMania,
Easter.
Exactly. So that brings us to the main topic tonight. Only took us 35 minutes. I want to point that out, Punk. But just want to dive right in and welcome everyone back. ToyLeet family, thank you. This week we're exploring the topic from, every collector deals with or considers, yet everyone approaches slightly different, right? It's displaying a collection. You're dedicated to time to searching for the figures, investing in them, spending countless divorceable levels of dollars, and arranging their poses. But how do you showcase them, right? That's where Hexastack comes in. No, we'll dive into that later. But that's where this all comes to, art, and how you display it. Is it in box, out of box, all that, right? Every, toy collector handles it a little differently. Some it's just a stylish corner. Some it's just on the tabletop on your desk. And then there's others that make it look like a museum, and have it being curated, as personalized masterpieces. I mean, you've seen the YouTube videos by many others. At some point, when I'm done kind of setting this room up, maybe I'll do a little room tour. Right now, the room tour will be very unappealing and dissatisfying for sure for most, but we're going to dive into that. So thank you for coming along for the ride, right? So first, we're going to jump in and kind of talk about what collectors the folks on the screen are. Chat is welcome to chime in on, what kind of collectors they are. Ed, there's no right way to, display your collection. Actually, Ed, time out. Let's go to our guest first. Let's go to our guest. I don't need Eric's opinion right now. And yes, that was on purpose, Ed. We're going to go to Ted. We're going to go to Ted and we're going to ask him, right? What does your space look like a museum or a toy aisle? Or does it look like a comic book scene?
I mean, so the Detolfs, which are not on camera, I'm not a vanilla poser, so I am primarily an out-of-box collector. However, there are things that are in box. They're either in box because, for example, they were a gift and they're ultra vintage, or maybe there's not space for them at the moment. But anything that goes in the Detolf, which is a Detolf here, and there's a Detolf here, those have dynamic poses. So there's like an action scene. So we have Spider-Man, we have X-Men. Like I have my X-Men fighting my HasLab Sentinel up here, which you can't see. I have the Power Rangers fighting 5 putties and Lord Zed and Rita.
So you try to make each cube like a display action scene? Okay.
100%. And then anything that is in box, this is back here just for show, right? Like this is not how I would display it, but like in front of me, there is a wall of like the prize possessions, which is mostly Marvel Legends, but like, I have a WWE Masters of the WWE Universe Macho Man. I have any chases or grails that I might have come along across the way, just hanging on the wall. Those are the things that I don't open. But if I'm buying something, the plan is to open it and the plan is to display it. And if I maybe get tired of it, we try to push it into a seasonal thing. There's Halloween stuff, there's Christmas stuff. Some things can come out during certain times. But unfortunately, if you get replaced, you get sold or you get bagged up and you get put in this drawer over here. I have a very big drawer. Everything's bagged with accessories and all that stuff. But yeah, when they come down here, I want them to have an experience. And when I come down here, I want to have an experience. And if some rando maintenance man come to fix my water heater or whatever comes down here, I'm gonna be like, oh dang, I remember that action figure. I used to have that when I was a kid. I'm like, yeah, bitch. Yeah, you did. Now it's here. And that's that's how I display.
That's awesome. Now on to you, Eric.
Thanks.
I can.
Thanks.
Ed, so how do you display?
Well, I have several ways that I display. First and foremost, I have action figures in every room of my house except for the bathroom right now. And they are mostly in dios, just little setups, but I don't take time to action pose my figures on the shelf because I'm constantly taking them down and rotating them around for the pictures that I take. So a lot of times in the dios, I'll just leave them standing in certain positions that I just think are cool. But on the shelf, I have a shelf of figures that just kind of stand in static poses because they're probably going to get taken down tomorrow and thrown up on some picture or something like that. So, but mostly I would say I just display them on the dio. Unlike Ted, I have a specific Christmas shelf and a specific Halloween shelf that just stay up all year long, though, because, why bother rotating in and out? Because as Ted said, if it comes off the shelf and it's not going in a picture, chances are it's probably going into a box to get sold. What about you, Mr. Weirdful? I mean, wonderful.
Let it come. Let it come. No. So for me, I will. I have a different ways. It's a combination. The one thing I do, I only, and as you can see in this picture, I only keep things in boxes that are special to me because they have an autograph from the designer or the character. You can see in that picture next to the wrestling belts, I have what's that guy's name? The legend there in the picture. It's Kazar's. Is that Kazar? Yeah, it's Kazar. So I actually got the opportunity to meet Kazar's sculptor in person here locally last year at a toy show. And then next to it is a in the box signed autographed Matt Cardona Super 7 figure, ultimate figure. So I keep them in the box just because they have the autograph. It's a memento. Actually, that one's signed and autographed for my son, so I just hold it in here for him so he doesn't ruin it in his room. And then you can see in the stands there on the Hexa stack in those little glass shielded cases. One, it helps with the dust and stuff, but also it allows me to stack on top of each other and kind of have modular cases that I can move if I need to. But I like to have my stuff displayed, and I like to be able to see all their faces and all of their expressions. I don't do a whole lot of action posing stuff, really. I don't have the diorama approach. I like more of the art on display, character in the moment, just looking trophy style to them. And because I do take them off sometimes, and I do take them off the shelves and put them, my son grabs them and plays with them. But as I've been building out the museum in here and curating it, I've been working on picking out the ones that are definitely going to go on the shelf for sure. So I kind of keep them all out of box when I get around to opening them, unless it has a sentimental value. And as far as like holiday and rotating things, I'm not someone who would rotate things. If you've made it on the shelf, you will stay on the shelf unless because my son has taken them to play with, or I want to use them for a photo. They're going to eventually go back into the same spot. But there is the ones that I do have for the holidays, and I've been working on is a Christmas Santa, the reindeer, the sleigh, that type of stuff, and I have the Four Horsemen's figure obscura Santa Claus one there. Yeah, that one. So that's kind of how I collect and display. But yeah, in the chat.
Yeah. So Plastic Skulls is here. What's up, guys? What's up, Skulls? And Brian says he displays his figure. Brian, I think, is a lot like me. He has his figures in in some place, and then he just takes a lot of them out for pictures all the time. And Punk would like to point out how many people watch his show on Monday night, even though it takes him 3 hours to get to a topic.
Doesn't he pay for those?
I think he pays for those. Yeah. Allison says, speaking of disappointing, unsatisfying, Carl called her last week to remind her that he's not dead yet. Just in case anyone was wondering. God, I love Allison. Tiffany says that their collection is a mess, and the rule is shove it where it fits.
I like that rule.
You're going to have to do a lot of shoving when that dragon comes. You guys got to shove a lot to make that thing fit. And Brian says, yeah, he keeps his in tubs. I keep my shelves full of dios for pictures. Thanos has shelves that are messes. Everything is disarray at all times. That's yours is more organized than mine. You got all those things hanging on the wall. I tell you that, Thanos. Just not as much of a disarray as you like to claim. And Ronnie Trickshot's in the house. What's up, Ronnie? And everybody's saying hi to Ronnie. And Punk saying, hit the like button for Ed and Ted, not Travis.
Yes, yes. Yep,
and Allison
definitely.
is putting display cases together right now, so soon everything will be displayed. Yes, she moved in the last several months and is setting up a nice display for all of her Princess Leia and other characters that she loves, like She-Ra and stuff like that. So that's it for the chat right now, brother. Moving
awesome.
on.
So the next piece is making the most of the space you have, and you alluded to this already, Ed. Right, with the dragon, you're gonna have to make a ton of space, and I think it was Vaz mentioned, wherever it fits, right? So, one of the biggest things we all have problems with is space, right? It's hard to find a place to put stuff, whether it be, I'm kind of stuck in this office. I do have the Hexastack factory down in the basement, or as I call it, the dungeon. And I have been told by my wife that I keep such a messy office that I should just take over the entire dungeon and the space next to it where the kids have their stuff and just set that up as my office and, factory. And I'm like, I don't want to be down in the basement. It seems kind of weird and stuff all the time. I like to be upstairs and
maybe
whatnot.
She wants you down.
It would probably be beneficial. Yeah, she's probably next to 6 foot, 6 foot deep hole she's building for me.
That's right.
Exactly. But how do you guys handle displaying things like vehicles? That's a big thing over the last 24 months, right? Like last 24 months, we've seen a massive amount of 1/12 scale vehicles. We got the Dragon, things like that. That whole large scale world building aspect of the 1/12. Ted, you had Odd Frog on Sunday on Helidope talking about the
Bandito.
What's the Bandito? And I mean, it's a beautiful piece of art, and it's a really cool concept, and the extras they have in it. But size wise, it's going to take up some space. How do people display that?
Yeah, so for that, now I have shelves here, and it would take up a literal whole shelf. Thankfully for my vehicles, I call it the garage. So I have a big enough gap underneath my shelf. It doesn't hit the floor, but it is a big enough gap where I store my vehicles. So my Bratz car from 3POA, any of my Marvel Legends motorcycles, my Slammobile, and then the ambulance, the Slambulance is parked next to it. But yeah, for something like the Bandito or the Ramen Racer, you literally need a whole shelf. Like, you don't drop that much money on something and then just shove it underneath a thing. Like, that has to be on display all the time, and that's not going to fit into a Detolf. So a floating shelf, maybe you're drilling holes into your wall, or I don't know, a lot of space on your desk. If I got rid of this printer right here, I could hold a Bandito, I could hold a Ramen Racer, I could hold a Slambulance. But I don't know. Space, time, money. That's our dilemma, right?
Yeah. I think space gets chewed up. Well, money gets spaced up. They all get chewed up pretty quickly. But when I think of space, you can make more money. You can't make more time, and space would cost you a massive amount of money to get more of it, right? I see collectors that just bin their stuff up and put it in storage units and things like that, right? So they're not even displaying; they're collecting for the habitual satisfaction of collecting. They don't even display in anything. But with these vehicles, right? Like, there's so many of them, right? You got the Dragonfly, you've got the what's the one for Vala, because they did the
The Vanguard?
Vanguard.
The
yes.
Vanguard. Yeah, the Vanguard. You got several vehicles from Joe. You know, they've got the one coming out later this year, the plane. I just sold the Dragonfly. You know, like all these things. Yeah, the his tank or whatever it is, right? So you have all that stuff.
That was
You
the
know,
one
that's
nice
eating
thing
up a lot
about
of
the GI
space.
Joe Vamp. It's not a very big vehicle. It's probably like 13 inches long, maybe at the most, right? So you could put it on like a standard bookshelf and still have some figures in front of it or displayed around it and still have plenty of room. Like my ramen van right now is basically sitting on the living room floor over here because I have a shelf that it could fit on, but it's at the bottom of this shelf and it's like I don't want to put it there because then you're not going to see it. So
And I feel like with you, Ed, right, with your vehicles, and I mean most of your stuff, right, like especially the vehicles, like you're going to grab them and take them outside and do some stuff outside.
oh
with
yeah,
that. So
absolutely.
for you, you know, it's not something you're going to be burying at the bottom of the shelf, or even if you had to bury it at the bottom of the shelf like Ted did, it's not a big deal
Yeah.
because your displaying aspect is going to be the playtime, right?
Yeah, my slambulets and the other vehicles that I have are underneath one of the tables that I have the dials on top of. And when I take, they're
Yep.
pulled in and out constantly for pictures. So
Right. And I mean, then there's the figure display. We kind of talked on this, and Ted kind of alluded to it, right? One of the things you can leverage is a floating shelf or a Detolf, things like that, right? It's, you know, you run out of depth, but what you can get is that vertical height, you know, in your rooms and space. So it's using the walls. It's where the Detolfs and the bookshelves and things like that come into play. It's a little subtle kind of plug. It's where Hexastack could come into play, right? It allows you to display your figures in a modular customizable system, right? You don't have to display them just on what I always call spice racks, right? Because so many people use like these generic spice racks for it. It's a little less expensive, but it doesn't give you the same level of look, right? You know, if you're just trying to display them, go for it. But if you want to up your games, that more curated style, you're looking for something like Hexastack or one of these other third-party stands to really display them, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Going into the next piece, bringing your life to your shelves, right? Posing, and you touched on this, Ted, is that you posed a lot of yours in scenes, kind of diorama or interactions and stuff. I pose mine. You can see AJ Styles there's holding his hands kind of in that manner. You can see I've got Ricochet kind of kneeling like he's doing his like flight pose, and I try to have the ones up in the back from the bloodline. So I do some posing. It's not so much action where they're not fighting and stuff. I go more for the entrance or the ring stance that the wrestlers have. So that's how I do it. But I've seen people, Ted, do you do like backdrops and add lighting to your figure displays?
The Detolfs are lit up. Unless I'm doing photography, I don't really mess with the lights. They're there for me to enjoy. I do like the Detolfs being lit up. I don't light them up. It causes too much light for the studio effect. But when I'm down here vibing off of some rum and some blues, you light up the Detolfs. It's nice, but no, other than that, unless I'm doing toy photography, natural light.
Gotcha. And Ed, I know with yours, again, yours is like a shelf space to hold with some displaying going on because more often than not, you're taking them out into the wilderness. But for yours, do you do anything like printed backdrops or, do you have any like light, like sound effects stuff, anything like that?
I have just my stuff for pictures. Like I got my tapestries that I use for behind figures and stuff that give it a backdrop, and then I have my dios. But all these guys that take a lot of these pictures and stuff go out there and they spend all this money on lighting and all this fun stuff. And I just use a flashlight and have some paper that I put over top of it to either make it brighter or less or color it or whatever, right? I don't go fancy. I do everything with a flashlight or else natural lighting. And like Ted, I'm either sitting here drinking coffee and listening to some jazz or some blues, and I don't really use anything but the natural lighting. And that's why I like taking pictures outside, because the natural lighting, you can't beat it.
Yeah. And I have taken my stuff outside. My wrestlers are never going to go outside. They don't get dirty. Those wrestlers, they stay as pristine as possible in those cases. I've got it broken down. You guys can't see it here, but I have each one of those little cubes that I have I have all the figures sorted by like the genre of how I wanted to display them. I've got my WCW figures together. I've got like the early 90s figures grouped together. I've got like they're kind of in like the then now forever type setup. So I kind of like try to like bring my stuff into like a historical time frame of wrestling and display the guys corrective in there. It allows me to kind of fake in 2 Shawn Michaels figures because they kind of have different periods of time, things like that. But yeah, I kind of try to bring my shells to life, leveraging the Hexa stacks that I have from the Model 2s that I created, which are not available for sale. You guys will get the Model 3s that are coming. But yeah, I think everyone can kind of approach it differently. What I've seen is, and there's Vasco Toys. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He's a YouTuber. I think you might have met him at Joe Fest maybe yet in the past, but like he does a really cool job with doing dio builds and what he does. He has some backdrops that he sells and whatnot, and they look really cool. And he uses them in his dioramas and the Detolfs to kind of add that next layer of.
There's a lot of really good guys out there that do dios, professionally, whatever you want to call it, right? Who build them specifically for the Detolfs and stuff, right? I mean, they're built to the 15 by 15, whatever, so they slide in. They're just backdrop kind of things, and you can also get like extreme sets that are made just for the Detolfs. And things like that.
I have that. I don't have any there for the Detolf. I have the original extreme sets, which was the wrestling arena.
They make the regular full size ones too. Yeah. Real quick. The shout out from the Crick is in the actual chat right now.
Hey, Terrence, thanks for joining, man. Thanks for coming. You may not have seen it, but we did shout you out on the opening earlier in the evening.
And he asked, is the coffee natural? It doesn't matter because coffee's for me is coffee. I am not a coffee snob. I have my preferred McDonald's coffee, but I am not a coffee snob. You hand me a coffee, I'm going to enjoy it.
Awesome. Next up, we're going to just kind of talk about the hardcore display artists, and it's kind of expanding on what we were just talking about, right? From foam dios, maybe some fire escape setups, as you see in the screen here from your photos there. But, people create these alleyways or labs, some people create ring setups and whatnot to display on. But really, like, it's limitless, especially if you can get into using a Proxon and getting into paint and stuff. And actually, Ed, I think next week you're going to kind of be leading the show. And the main topic next week, which we'll be covering, which is going to be talking about, diorama building, right? Like that's where we'll be focusing. But right now, kind of talking about that a little bit more. I mean, that's a pretty big overhead, right? Between cost and between time. It's a huge time commitment, I find. But we'll dive more into those next week, right?
Yeah, I won't say, like, if you're going to buy a display shelf or something, right? I can build a dio, like that one kitchen dio that I have that I use for a lot of pictures, right? I built that out of all sorts of just junk cardboard. And there's like 3 pieces of scrap foam that I have in there. So it literally cost me nothing. The main box is a box that I got from the Hella Dope people. And then everything else is just, boxes from electronics and bullshit like that you get in the mail, right? So, I mean, you can build a decent display and invest very little money other than a couple bottles of, 50-cent paint. So, but like you said, we'll get into more of that
next week.
Yeah, we'll get into more of that next week for sure.
Awesome. And Ted, you kind of already covered on this a little bit, right? Do you find yourself using any 3D prints or any other things like that, or is most of what you're using pre-made model type stuff?
I am not fancy enough for a 3D printer, so if I'm doing any sort of photography or customization or anything, it is the old school, take your ass to Michael's, Joann's, Hobby Lobby, find the stuff, and watch a YouTube video and do it yourself,
Okay, cool. Good deal. Well, that brings us into the next one, which is to open or not to open. 'Tis the question. It's the forever question, the eternal debate, as they say. Do you let them breathe, or do you leave them in the box so they're uniform, clean, and preserve all that packaged art? I think we all agreed that we believe in breath. We believe in breathing. That plastic should breathe. I mean, there's a few exceptions here and there. I think we can all agree on that there might be something we want to maintain, but in a lot of cases, I'll use the example that I spoke to before. We got your Spider-Man figure there, and that's from a few waves back. Actually, that's a ways a while
It's the first Marvel Legends figure I ever bought. Don't know why I didn't open it,
Oh.
but he's just there. Won't open him now.
I think I have maybe 3 or 4 figures in package still. The rest of them have been opened, displayed, photographed, taken in the mud. I have no care about whether they get dirty or not. I'm not a snob. But to add to this, we did episode, I believe it was like 25 or 26 a while ago, where we talked about in-box and out-of-box collectors.
Yep. Yeah, man, look at you like the freaking guru of time frames. I mean, I don't know which episode number it was, but I'm looking back at my list here, trying to see if I can find it, but I'm not sure. I found, yeah. Oh, there it is. I think it was back in October, maybe. I could be wrong, but yeah.
It was like 25 or
So,
26. I only remember that because I
yeah.
was looking for something a couple weeks ago and happened to see the numbers on some of them. Don't ask me about any
Yeah.
other ones because I don't remember.
Awesome. Yeah, so you can see I still got some stuff that I have in box. These will come out of the box. It does just happen to be that I have found myself a stash of Savage Crucible figures from time to time that I didn't realize I owned in other boxes that had gotten swiftly moved underneath other things so that I didn't get buried.
Basically, what happens is Travis hides them from his wife when they get shipped in, and then he forgets that he has them. And then he finds them 6 months later and goes, "Oh, look at this. I have new toys to open."
What? Why did I order those extra ones last week from Helidope or Spiro Direct? I know they're having a sale, but I didn't know I had all of it. Yeah, that's what ends up happening.
Yeah.
That is surely what ends up happening.
Most
But-
people in the chat are saying definitely open them up unless it's some kind of, special figure like Ted was saying, right? So,
Right, like I'm going to get the dragon. I'm not going to open that.
yeah, you don't want to open that dragon.
Yeah, no.
Just look at the big
Definitely.
honking brown cardboard box. Don't even take it out of the cardboard.
Exactly. I mean, that's what I did for the His Tank and the Dragonfly for a long time.
But
They
just think of what
they
you can
stayed
display on top of those boxes. You can create a whole display on top of them.
there. Exactly. Well, you said you use the boxes for everything. That was my
Exactly.
thought.
Yeah.
So definitely open that stuff, let it breathe. But like my brother was collecting Marvel Legends for a little while when he saw me get into the collecting quite a bit. He started buying them, from Walmart and Target and stuff. And he would actually just use thumbtacks and put them on his wall and kind of just had all the packages, just like a wall of packages of his figures. He had to stop doing that and kind of moving away from it. But some people do. He didn't collect them. He never played with them. He just liked to display them and collect them kind of like his chess pieces. Because he definitely doesn't know how to play chess.
Paint toy samples there for a while.
Yes.
Before he got, before his life got turned upside down, had a whole basic display wall, and it was all unopened packages. And he was basically displaying it so it looked like it used to look like when you walked into Toys R Us or a toy store, right? And then he had his open stuff and his custom stuff, but he had this wall of just special figures that made it look like he was walking into the old style department stores when it was floor to ceiling, wall to wall toys and everything.
If I had the choice, I saw somebody do a video similar to what you're talking about with the toy store look. I saw people do a Blockbusters one, where they had the DVD movies and stuff like that. People come in and had all those movies like that, and they had the theater in the next room where you could just put them in and watch them. That's how he displayed. But I also saw one of those YouTube videos where somebody actually has a Toys R Us in their basement, essentially, where they keep all their stuff. They got the pegs and the prices, and they've got all the display stuff. And if I had a choice, I would totally redo my basement and have my desk be like the customer checkout, even though it still looked like a spaceship in there with 5 monitors. Yeah. But I'd make it look as close to Toys R Us as possible with all that stuff, because that would be so cool.
Well,
I'd even see if I could find whatever they used to spray the room with to give you that smell of whatever Toys R Us smelled like. I don't know what it smelled like.
That was a dirty mop water. But anyway,
that might be it.
Like probably 5-6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago now, when there was a lot of stores that were just closing because of the internet and stuff, you could go to those stores and buy their shelving units for next to nothing, right? Yep. I had bought some at one point in time, probably 10 years ago, when one of the stores around here was closing, and I had a lot of my 12-inch G.I. Joe stuff displayed on it, the way they used to display them in the stores back in the 60s and 70s.
Oh yeah, there was the Big Lots and Party City that started to sell off recently too, and I've seen they sell a lot of that stuff. But my wife's not gonna. My wife would kill me if I did that. As cool as it would look, she would kill me even more than she probably wants to already.
See, that's
Moving
why we got to start a toy store like there's this guys that have this hella dope store, right?
like a satellite location.
Yeah, we could just start our own hella dope too, right?
Hella
And
dope, New York.
yeah, hella dope New York. And we could do that, and then we could have a display like Ted has behind him where he got pegs, tank figures, and stuff like that.
Exactly.
And then they can't
And
say
then we
anything.
could
We could just say it's our toy store. We got to have this
Right.
here.
and we got to shill this shit, right?
Right.
That's how it works.
Shill that shit,
Dark
baby.
Claw shills his
Speaking of
shit,
shilling that shit,
shit.
perfect
Let's show
play.
some shit. Let's show some shit.
Stack up against the rest, right? Here's some older models. You could see the Hexastack 2 that I have used. They're samples. They're ones that I moved away from because the magnets weren't working so well. But I've used them because I don't want to throw all that plastic away. So I've used them to set up my own displays here in my office. That's what's behind me right there to the right. Might be your left. I'm not sure. But you can see that tiered approach where you can see each one of their faces. You can buy acrylic risers very similar to this where you can have that. But what this offers is that peg, the replaceable or swappable peg unit that I have. And you've got the, different bases for storage, and there's magnetic connectors on them to make them so that they kind of stay together a little bit more effectively.
Let's start this all over, Travis. There's a
Yeah.
lot of people here that have been around for a while, but there's probably half of the audience right now that doesn't know what Hexastack really is.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
That's true. It's
Why don't we
it's
start
been like a
there?
myth.
Yeah,
It's been a myth.
Been a couple years.
No,
man.
it's great.
Been a couple years.
You're right. It's almost been pretty much. I think actually I was just looking. I'm 7 days away from my filed LLC. Right. So I think it was like April 22nd when I filed my LLC in 2023, which was only a few weeks after I came up with the concept. And that's where we're going to go into the story of what Hexastack is. And that's why we're talking about that stacking up against in your displays. Hexastack is nearly ready to launch. What is Hexastack though? Hexastack is a 3D printed currently modular display system. It's gone through a number of revisions. It started off actually relatively small, a fraction of the size it is today. It also has faced things like cease and desists. There's jerks out there who claim that I stole their idea. Let's be honest, and this might be slightly controversial. That's bullshit. I did not steal their idea. If you were starting a burger store, you'd go out and buy a burger from your competitors and see what that tastes like to make sure your shit tastes better. Make sure they're not doing something better than you. Well, when I came up with this idea, I registered it. April 22nd, I think is the date, if I have everything correct, the concept, and started printing this. What happened was my kids started to grow out of playing with their toys, wanted to display them, want to collect them more, curate them, similar to what I'm doing. Well, all of these stupid freaking figures that we collect use different peg holes. They use different, neck joints. All the parts of them are, for whatever reason, different sizes. The feet on the female Power Rangers are a little bit smaller. Some of the pro wrestling ones are different. Very, very different. So what I was running into is there's not one-stop solution. You could go with an acrylic display, like a spice rack, as I refer to them. You could go with something like that, but then you got to get blue sticky tack or something to help keep them in place. You also have no guarantee that they're going to be lined up the way you want. So I came up with this concept, and at the time it was a relatively small hexagon-shaped stand because of the way you could interlock the hexagon. So you can stagger the figures, as you can kind of see here in these photos. You can see Dominic there in the front, right next to him. You can also see the glare is a little funky on the camera there, but you can see the figures' faces going all the way back to the top shelf. Because the way the hexagon shape interlocks with one another, it staggers it. So originally I came up with a number of different sizes. I think I was up to 4 or 5 different sizes for the stands. Version 3, which is the official launch version, is actually only going to have 3 sizes. But the idea was that I wanted a stand that used some magnets in them to help connect each unit to each other to stabilize the entire display. I also wanted a way that I could remove and swap out the peg module, the way the foot is held in place. Early on in the design process, someone mentioned, well, I've seen these slide-in foots. I wasn't a fan of them. However, the more tinkering I did, the more I found that slide-in foot peg is the most efficient way to support the majority of figures. However, I didn't want to tie myself into just that by like crowning the unit specifically with a kind of what is it, the slide in base, right? So what I did was, and I'm going to go up on full screen here,
Go for it.
showing the newest model here. What I did was I created a separate removable portion here within the top of the display stands. Originally, there was some different styling to the way the display stands were. Now, they're a little different. Every stand has a lid. And the reason for that is because every stand has storage, because I wanted a way to store it. On this model, I went with gray because they're easier to see in pictures and easier to see when I'm taking demos. But these come in black. They do not come in gray. This is just for my use for demoing purposes. You'll notice on the side there's these holes in there. Those holes are there to represent and maintain the magnets that are used to connect these units. You will not see the magnets. The magnets are flush and covered with a cap, something that I took from seeing them and using them during PowerCon back in 2023 when I was doing the Kickstarter. And again, this whole concept has evolved over the last 2 years. I had a failed Kickstarter, raised about $5,000 of the goal because I eventually wanted to get these injection molded. But I also didn't want to front all that money to injection molding if the business model wasn't there. So I thought the Kickstarter was the way to go. The idea was if I can get enough people behind it to support the Kickstarter, I can use those funds to injection mold and build from there. Things have changed. There was some cease and desist in the meantime, and then there was constant changes to the product. Supposed to launch these in November of 2000. I thought he had a dragon. It's just his dog.
It is a dragon. It's a furry one.
So,
and that is part of the reason why Ted is here, right? Because this was definitely officially announced on the Hella Dope show when you were on there over 2 years ago now.
Almost 2 years ago now. Almost 2 years. It was May 20th of 2023. It seems like my wife tells me I've been working on this for 4 years at this point, and I'm like, no, I can pinpoint the exact date I announced it publicly, and I can also show you when I registered everything. Right. So I have those. I still have all the original
according to her,
files,
you've been remodeling the bathroom for 17 years too, right? So I mean, before you
That's
even moved
true.
into the house. So
we bought the house 6 years ago. Yes.
Right.
So what ended up happening was there's been a number of different revisions and things that put things on hold, but it is now coming to fruition. 4/22/2025 will be the online launch of this. I've got a couple things I'm working through right now just to get the printers running a little bit more smoothly. So I'm rebalancing them and just tweaking some things to make sure that I don't get some failed prints. Like today, I printed this one and it stopped and only printed half of it. But what I'm going to show you, I'm going to go up on the big screen here. I do have some pictures. Actually, let's go to the next slide. Actually.
Why don't you bring the slide up full screen?
Oh, perfect. Yes. So on the screen here, you can see these are some of the more early samples that I've been working on. But what you'll see on screen here is that this is the newer stand. It is significantly larger. And what I mean, it covers a larger space, floor space, than the original model, and then even the version 2 that I came up with that we showed off at PowerCon. The reason it is larger is because what I wanted to do was move away from 4 different stands and move it down to 2 stands and a flex lid is what or flex cap is what I'm calling it. So we have 3 different versions. You can see here in the far right picture, you have what is called the max stand, which is about 2 inches tall, and then you have the core stand in the middle, which is about 1 inch tall. And then you have on top what I call the flex cap. The reason I call it a flex cap is because in the next screen, you'll see this. The flex cap both goes on every one of the other units, but it also can be used directly on the floor to give you a near floor base model to take advantage of the space at the ground and still have the foot pegs available to you. So those are... I'm trying to remember the measurements on. I don't remember the measurements on them, but they're like maybe 1/4 of an inch thick, give or take. And they have the same removable model that I showed off, where you have the peg, the slide-in foot peg, which you can see there. I left one in and took one out for these images. And what you can see is that lid goes on top of them, it goes on both of them, and it has that staggered approach for the hexagon units. You can also notice that even the smallest stand, the core stand, has storage. So you can put some accessories like hands and weapons. And all of these figures nowadays are coming with equipment. But now you don't have to get a bunch of Ziploc bags to store it in. You can throw it right in the stand and the figure's being displayed on. So it's all keeping everything in one place, and you don't have to lose so much.
Now, can you
Any
stack,
questions for me, Ed?
Can you stack the smaller stand, the core stand, on top of the max stand, and then put the flex cap on top of that?
So in the far right picture, you can see the max stand at the bottom with a core stand on top and the flex cap on top of that.
Perfect.
So you would have 2 units there that have storage. You can also stack multiple core stands together. You can stack multiple max stands together. Obviously, you're going to want 1 flex cap at the top so that you have a display. Now that gets into, what does each one of these units contain? Well, every stand, so the core stand and the max stand, they all come with a flex cap. So if you buy, and I'll show you the bundle shortly, if you end up buying anything that contains a given core stand, it's going to come with the core stand and the flex cap, meaning that you have the cap that you can use there, or if you happen to be merging and using the example you see here, you have a max stand, which also comes with a flex cap. You now have 2 flex caps and 2 stands, a core and a max. You could triple stack a core stand and a max stand with your flex cap and then have another flex cap that would have went to the max stand on the ground. So every stand comes with a flex cap, and then you can also get the flex caps individually so you can use them at the ground. For launch, I'll only have 3 bundles available, but I will be expanding the amount and the styles of bundles you can get. I wanted to keep it simple so folks could get introduced to the system and the product as a whole. So I'm going simple with that, but you will be able to in the future be able to buy just flex caps individually because you may want some, you may want more. The other piece is that everything, the flex cap, the core stand, and the max stand, they all come with what's referred to as, and let me find my notes here. I don't have it in front of me, so I apologize. I have a specific name for them to make it makes sense. So what you have is, give me a second. Okay, so what you have is what I refer to as the hex peg, which is the standard hex peg. That is the one that has the slide-in foot. Every stand or flex cap, well, I guess look at it like this. The flex cap comes with every stand. So every flex cap you get comes with 2 standard hex pegs, which are the slide-in foot pegs, and it also comes with 2 flat top inserts. So that way, if you only want to use one of the hex pegs, you can use a flat top one, so you can, you don't necessarily have to use the peg in. You don't have to use the slide-in foot peg if you're not using it. Or if you're someone who collects pops and wants to display your pops in this same staggered approach, this is a good base that can fit a pop with relative ease and within that space for most standard ones. You could just use those flat top inserts to fill the gap so you don't have like an unsightly gap in the stand. That was the idea and concept behind having the flat top inserts. But again, every flex cap you get comes with 2 flat top inserts and 2 standard hex pegs. I do have other hex pegs available. The standard is kind of what I refer to as the 3. There's a 1 and a 2, which are slightly smaller, and then you have a 4 and a 5, which are larger, so you can fit more brute style figures, larger scale feet into those slide-ins. As time progresses, I will start to introduce the other hex pegs, which will be specific figure needs, right? So like the Valaverse pegs, those are all the same. So they all, Valaverse pegs seem to all be universal sized. So I can release a standard one for that if you're someone who doesn't like the obstruction of the foot with the slide-in hex peg stand. So that's kind of how those all come. Does that make sense, Ed? Did I explain that well enough?
Yes.
Awesome.
Any questions, Ted?
Well, yeah. Can we take this? Can we take the slide down?
No.
Take the slide down. Let me ask my question.
Yes.
So I'm with Wally, Hella Dope warehouse manager. He is not allowed down here during live streams, but I went up to get a drink and he snuck down here to yell at me. And now, Travis, he is going to yell at you, and he wants to know how much and when.
Okay,
And
so the when
now
is the when is next Tuesday. We will be live. I'm not sure the time, but the site will be live, and anybody who's subscribed to thehexastack.com can go ahead and be notified when that goes live. I'll also be announcing it on the Instagram. Our buddy Ed may post it on ToyLeet for us when that goes live. But the pricing is, like I said, there's 3 packs to start off with, and based on consumer purchasing and details, the pricing, I tried to keep it as close to the pricing model that I had during the Kickstarter, and I still will take care of the folks that backed on the Kickstarter. So if you're someone who did, and I do have that list of folks, if you are someone who did back on the Kickstarter early on and you were committed to the product back then and waited around long enough to come to fruition, I will still work out the discounts with you. But the base price for the base builder pack, as I'm referring to it, it's essentially the foundation. It's a 6-pack unit. So that 6-pack unit would come with 2 flex caps, 2 standalone flex caps for full transparency, 2 core stands, which comes with 2 additional flex caps, and then 2 max stands, which again comes with 2 additional flex caps. And those flex caps come with all of their pegs, the flat peg and the slide-in peg as needed. Those all come together. So you get a total of those, and that's going to retail for $29.99. So you're getting all of those for $30. And again, I'll take care of those backers that were involved in the Kickstarter, but the standard retail price will be $29.99 for that base builder pack. And it gives you something to start with. So you can configure it a number of different ways, whether you're stacking the multiple core stands on one another, using the flex caps differently, having more on the ground, but that should give you a base starting place. And again, like I said, I'm definitely thinking we'll see some of the flex caps be sold individually. Let's just seeing folks need those. Fatra, the lids, friction, or magnet also. The lids originally in some of the earlier designs were going to include magnets on top, but I found that there wasn't a need to have them, because as I tightened in the lid and went with that approach, the friction is sufficient enough to keep everything in place. And additionally, what I was able to do is keep the price point from going up higher, because honestly, one of the more expensive things is including the magnets, both from me when I'm doing it at the 3D model, the 3D printing model, and the larger model of once it's injected molded. When I was talking to manufacturers on that, one of the big things is the metal and the magnets in them is actually a huge cost, because it's very meticulous in putting those in. And kind of stopping and that whole tooling process to it. So I pulled the magnets out as much as I could, while still maintaining the integrity of the connections from all the different sides of the unit.
Okay,
Hopefully that answers that question. Yes, sir.
How many do you have a cap on this? Is there how many can I order? Let's say I have all the money in the world and I want to order all of them. Is this a limited edition thing as we roll it out, or are you doing like a Duarte where you're doing pre-orders, and after that pre-order window closes, that we're done for now? How many are available?
It's going to be first in, first out. I'm going to set it up as a pre-order with the intention to ship out within 7 days of the pre-order coming in. I believe with the production that I have, I should be able to keep up with most what I expect to be in, within 7 days based on my outreach today. I'm not going to be going out blasting like crazy. I want to start with the Kickstarters. I want to start with those that follow the ToyLeet and get that stuff out there. I mean, obviously orders are going to come in from wherever they come in, but that's the approach I'm going to go with. I do have product that is in the basement. I'm running into some issues on some of them. So I get some failed, some successes, as Ed can, Ed can share. He knows my frustrations. But I have 8 printers that I can run at any given time. And I can produce them within 3 to 4 hours, a large batch of them. So I can keep up with the demand, I believe, that I will initially get. If I begin to have an issue with the demand, I'm going to go ahead and pause the ordering. I'm going to purchase more printers, and I will ramp up production as needed. That's the approach I'm taking right now, Ted.
If I want one right now, let's say you got me hyped up, I want to pre-order. Where does one pre-order this at?
Pre-ordering goes live on Tuesday next week at thehexastack.com. It's the Shopify site that I have up. It's been a placeholder for 2 years now, or just under 2 years.
Look at that. Travis got that site up. I'll be damned. I'll be damned. We've been waiting for that.
It's been
Promises
a while.
made, promises kept.
It's taken a while, not where I wanted it to be, in April of 2025, but it's coming along. I haven't given up on it. It's been worked on consistently and frustratingly as much as possible.
Travis,
So that's the base builder pack.
Travis, it's thehexastack.com, correct?
Give me 1 second. I will pull it up on my screen and I will share it.
It's the Hexastack, not Hexastack. If you go to Hexastack, you'll get somebody else. If you go to the Hexastack, it is what you go to.
It is thehexastack.com. It should look like this. If you come here and you put your email in, you will know as soon as it launches. This does still have, all the references to the old logo and stuff. There are some updates coming, but this is what you should see. If you're seeing some IT company, that is not me.
This is why we keep Ed around.
Thank you, Ed.
For many reasons. Ed's a stable guy.
The next offering is going to be the expansion kit, which is 9-pack. Again, remember, everything comes with a flex cap, so you're going to get a flex cap for each stand, but you can get 3 core stands, 3 max stands, and 3 flex caps, plus all of the associated additional items. And that one's going to be for $45. $44.99 is the price. And then what we have is the all-in pack, which is going to go for $59.99, and that comes with 4 of everything: 4 flex caps, 4 core stands, and 4 max stands. And again, the core stands and the max stands, they come with flex caps and all the associated pegs too.
So to recap, you have a 2-pack of each stand, a 3-pack of each stand, and a 4-pack of each stand.
Yep.
Along with the associated foot pegs and the flat tops.
Flex caps. Yep. And the flat tops and the pegs. Yep. That's the plan. Is there any questions in the chat?
Tiffany's asking for the website. I will get that while you carry on.
Oh, and I saw Briscoe asked about ideas for Hexastack. Yeah, I mean, if you want to shoot me a message, you can hit my Instagram or the Hexastack Instagram. I'm all open for ideas. If you guys recall the ones that were around earlier on with Hexastack, there's a number of other items. I've purposefully and diligently made sure I kept certain components in place, like the removable peg holes here. And you'll notice that there's like a hole in here. There's a couple reasons for that. One, it's to allow for ease of remove so that there's no suction in air. I'll probably go large screen here so I can show you. But you'll notice that on the cap here, the flex cap has the peg hole. This is where the peg unit goes in, but there's also a little hole in here also. That's so that when the unit's on there doesn't cause any suction, but also because it allows for some expansion to other features that will be forthcoming, including things like lockers and card holders, nameplates, things like that. So there are a number of other features and details that were originally part of the Hexastack Kickstarter, including flight stands and such, that will also come out over time. But I wanted to, there's a saying that I keep hearing from folks is, I always forget the way it's said, but it's like perfection or better is like the worst something or other to like progress or something.
Progress over perfection.
Yeah, something like that. There's a couple different versions of it, but basically, the situation you run into is I can continue to change and modify and try to get the perfect thing out there. I do believe that version 3 here, with the way these stands are, the size, every stand having storage, the removable lid, which now acts as, the flex cap now acts as a base, also allows for a ton more flexibility, and it limits the offering. So my goal is to get that out. But as Ed, you can attest to, I have shared a countless number of ideas for Hexastack and what it will be and what it's going to end up providing, folks. But if you have other ideas, please shoot them my way. There's, these flex caps right now are all standard flat, but things like Ninja Turtle sewer lids and broken rock stone for your medieval things. Those are things to come if the market justifies it.
So that is awesome.
42225.
That's right. Next Tuesday, some point during the day, this will go live. If you go over to the website right now and sign up with email, you'll get the notice of when it's going to go live for real, 100%, and then you can get ready to do your order. And Travis, when are you going to have these bundles put up on the website so people know exactly, like, if they want to think about what they really need?
Everything will go live on that day. So everything will go live on that day. If you want to know what's available, come back here and listen in and check the slides out for now. But I'm not going to have the site do any different until Tuesday when it goes live for ordering.
All right.
I have it all turned on at once.
Are
That way
there any
folks can enjoy their
questions?
Easter. I have a question. How
Fire
long
away.
before you can get these in helladopetoys.com? I'm just kidding, Ted. We'll talk again. Let's see if we can get this moving. Because
Now, that was a question.
Ted,
That was a question
Oh,
Fat
yeah.
Red asked.
Yeah.
oh, did he?
Yep. Fat Red.
Oh, that's awesome. I missed it.
Yep. Will Heladope be stock in Hexastack?
I mean, Ted, I'm just gonna say there's no tariff charges on these.
Well, can I say something?
And he'll ship them to you in one business day.
Can you? I'm a little far. I'm a little far from my mic.
We
I
can hear you good, you're
apologize. I
I can
have
hear you
some
clear.
asshole who fell asleep in my fucking arms, so I have to carry him at the moment. I just want to say, Travis did come to us. God damn, was that 2 fucking years ago?
Almost.
That's
It was 2
absurd.
years ago, dude. It was
That
nearly
is
2 years
absurd.
ago.
Travis came to us and we were going to have him on the show. And then he was like, oh shit, well, I might have something. And then he hit us with this Hexastack shit. We didn't even know what we were getting into. And he drops the Hexastack on us. And then PowerCon comes around. He's our neighbor at PowerCon, which was awesome, by the way. And this guy was just out there turning people, like just making sales, just crushing it. One of the best salesmen I've ever seen. Hexastack has had ups and downs, but I'm a man who respects the grind. I respect the hustle. I respect the fact that a man wants to do better for their family and they don't want to be told how they can do it. So we chase a dream, right? That's the American dream. That's why foreigners came into our country and looked at that Statue of Liberty and said, yes, this is the land of promise. And Travis is out here chasing that shit. And I am happy to say that after all this time, he finally got off his fucking ass and got this website going. We'll see on April 22nd, because boy, if April 23rd comes around and that website is not up, we are going to troll the shit out of him. We are. But Travis, I am proud of you. I am proud of you for getting it done. You took a step back, right? Like, you can't be too successful too soon. There's no overnight success, right? Any overnight success is a guy who was grinding for many, many years and failed many, many times. And you just said you had 8 fucking printers in your basement. First of all, dude, that's crazy. Your wife does need to check on you more. Those are fumes, dude. Go to a doctor.
Hold on. I have one of those. I got that for Christmas several years ago, but I also have a complete ventilation system I built for it to vent it out of the house.
Okay, fair enough.
He has an actual factory down there now. He's got it all.
Yeah, I built
sealed
a little
in.
factory.
He's got it
It's
all
all sealed
so it's
in.
all exhausted out.
His
His mother gets a little stoned once in a while in the guest room down there, but it's okay.
It's a one-man sweatshop. Travis is
Look.
China. But again,
China full.
you make good points. Made in America, chasing a dream, trying to provide value for the community, and at the end of the day, that's all we want. So I'm looking forward to you winning. Wally, he's asleep. He'd be looking forward to it too.
All he wants to give in his approval because he fell asleep instead of yelling at people. So
we're rooting for you. You make your money, and then holler at Hello Dope. We'll work out the wholesale deal, and then we'll help continue the growth. But I'm proud of you for finally fucking getting this done. I'm mad Aaron's not here because boy, he would be whooping your ass up and down this fucking stream. God damn. He'd be like, finally, we got this website up. But no, good for you. April
like that.
22nd. Let's fucking go. That gives me a couple
Absolutely.
days to recover from WrestleMania. Works
Yes,
out
sir.
perfectly.
Yes.
Well, that's
Yep.
part of the reason we didn't go this
Yeah.
week. I was running in some hiccups. I've got Easter, some travel at the end of this week, and then we've got WrestleMania weekend, and as I said, Wrestle Easter on Sunday. So
Yeah.
wanted to make sure
I
we had
would-
our ducks in a row.
I would like to add on to what Tedward said because I've been with Travis since the beginning of this ride for him with Hexastack. I knew about a little bit of it before he even announced it on the Hella Dope show to begin with, and helped him and talked to him and let him use me as a venting stick for 2 years. And he's never given up. He's always kept grinding. He's always tried doing different things, and it's gone through some different design levels to make it a better product. And Travis will not disappoint. So anybody that wants to back him and give it a try, he will not disappoint, because his main thing was making sure that when it did come out, it was going to be a quality product and not just something that was thrown off the 3D printer and sent out the door to you. So it will be definitely a worthy product to have and be able to display your collection on. So Travis, definitely proud of you, just like Ted said.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I appreciate your support. Everyone in the chat that's been along for the journey since the beginning, and those that have jumped on along the way, I appreciate you too. I mean, ToyLeet came from Hexastack and the community. Honestly, it's hella dope, brotherhood. I also got to shout out Jeremy Jernigan, who's not around the community as much as he used to be. We'll not only thank you for his service, but also from the beginning, he's the first person I started talking to this about. He was the first person that gave me pointers and suggestions, and he's checked in consistently over the last 2 years on how I was doing and the progress I was making. And I can't wait to be able to ship him out a couple, just as a thank you for the support early on. So
absolutely. So it
Awesome,
doesn't look
dude.
like there's any more questions. So let's move on
let's
to the
go on to the
wrap-up.
next slide. Yeah. So next week, bringing your toy scenes to life. So we
With
dive a little bit
Hexastack.
deeper with Hexastack. Well, yes, we'll talk about it. I'm sure we'll cover it. I'm sure there'll be even a slide for the news, right? Because independent creators, right? The adjacent. I mean, it might be weird me giving news, but hey, it'll work. So
Hey, Ron Burgundy's able to do it. You can do it.
Awesome. So next week, Ed will be leading us through bringing your toy scenes to life, talking about diorama building, and going through kind of what that entails, what you can bring to the table, what tools you need, and how you can go ahead and improve your shelves if you're looking for more of the diorama. Hopefully, Hexastack takes off after next week. And not only will Hexastack be a stand display, but we'll go even a little further to kind of hybrid between your kind of, just modular display and your diorama pieces, because there's definitely things in the pipeline for that too. But
yes,
that said,
so next
what's
week
going
we're
on?
gonna be discussing dioramas. I just want to make sure everybody understands we're not going to be like building a diorama.
No, you want to do that? You do that with that other guy.
We do that with Random on Friday nights. That's Random's late night craft and chill on Friday nights. This is going to be discussing how you can use them in your displays, and other people also, along with, some different diorama. I mean, you might get some tips and tricks, but we're not going to be actually building, just so everybody's clear.
So with that said, Ed, I do want to do another call out to the 16 people or so that are watching right now. Anybody that's picking us up on the replay, if you have dioramas that you're taking pictures of, send them over to the ToyLeet on Instagram. We'll include them in the main show. We'll also, put a link to your, reference to your Instagram on there if you're doing cool dioramas. So if you're out there making dioramas, you did commissions, you do that stuff, we're glad to show your stuff off and talk about it as we're talking about those dioramas that folks are using.
Yep. And as going back to real quick, what we talked about in the beginning, if you have any nominations for shout outs, I know Kenzo got a bunch of shout outs and some nominations earlier, but if there's any other ones, hit the ToyLeet up on Instagram. It's the ToyLeet_takeover on Instagram. And I put the link in the chat earlier. Send over your nominations. And Fat Red, yes, if you don't mind, we'll steal a couple of your pictures for your Pneumonia City. And Travis, we'll send it over to you for the closeout.
Awesome. So, with that said, thank you everyone for tuning in for this week's topic. I was a joy talking about how things are displayed, leading into Hexastack's launch finally, and Ed and Ted and Eric and Dogman. Appreciate
And
all
Aaron,
you guys' support.
Aaron, even though he's not here, he's working, so he's here in spirit.
Screw that guy. Screw that
guy.
No. All the love to Aaron. All the love to
We
that guy.
love Aaron, I guess.
Ed, before next week, or actually before I go to you, Eric, let's go over to Ted. I'm going to see how often I can throw Ed and Eric into the thing and confuse the shit out of people listening when it's just the two of us. Ted, going to you first. What do you got going on over the next week? Obviously, you got WrestleMania weekend.
Well, my first priority is getting rid of this fucking asshole. Secondly, no hella dope this week. We are taking the weekend off for WrestleMania. Everybody needs a break from time to time, but we produced some bangers the past 2 weeks. So go to hella dope, go check out the Tariff video, go check out the Bandito video.
Yeah, real quick, let me cut in on you, Ted.
Yeah.
We talked about your tariff video last week, Tuesday, after you did your tariff show. And it was probably one of the best explanations of how the tariff actually works and how it's going to affect toy businesses, toy sellers, and retailers that was out there. So good job on that one. And then this last week's show was a banger because, the Bandito guys are all cool and it's such a cool project. And anybody that's not back in the Bandito, go over to Hella Dope, pre-order it for $1. It's going to be a worthy car to have in your display because it's going to be a complete entertainment system with Bandito radio and the other stuff that the Odd Frog guys have lined up and ready to come out. So go over and support those guys so they can grow their dream as well.
Absolutely. But just, helladopetoys.com, Hella Dope Toys on all social media. Also, this is my wife's dog. I don't know why he's down here. He just yells at me all day. And thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate being a part of this.
Thanks for being on.
Awesome.
We appreciate you.
Ed, what do you got going on the next week?
Well, I'll be all over the YouTubes like usual. Hanging out with Punk on his Thursday with a friend in the chat, and then on Friday night with Radnom on his craft and chill late at night. And then Saturday night, I will be actually on the panel for the Clubhouse Saturday night, like every Saturday almost. And then Sunday with the Hella Dope. No Hella Dope Sunday. Sunday, I'll be eating ham and watching the WrestleMania for my WrestleMeester.
Yeah.
WrestleMeester.
And then Monday, I'll be with Punk again for Monday night. And then Tuesday, we'll be back here for some diorama talk with my boy.
I hope I don't have to cancel next week.
With my boy,
I'm still busy printing stuff.
Travis, or as I like to call him, Tony, or Troy, or
Ed, it only works when I do it to you. I'm going to call you
Tavarius.
It only works when I do it to you, man. That's what makes it so cool. Because I did it out of nowhere randomly. Okay, cool.
Well, you did it to me twice randomly with two different names.
Yeah, I don't even remember what the other one was.
I don't know what the other one was either.
But I'll be found in the dungeon most nights working on the Hexastack stuff, tweaking things and adjusting stuff, getting the inventory ready, because that's what I'm doing over the next week. Got some things going on, but in free time, I will be focusing on thank you, Fatred. You just love to give Tiffy time. I'm fine with that. It's Tiffy time, baby. I'm okay with that.
Hey, don't bring Tiffany into this. She's sitting up there trying to be nice about the puppy that Ted's holding, and Travis is throwing her into the mix here.
That said, I'll be working in the factory on that stuff leading up. Join WrestleMania. I'll be in the chats and stuff because I'll be pulling my iPad up down there, listening in. So I'm sure you'll see me tomorrow night on the Wednesday night show with Kenzo. I'll be listening into him, and then Thursday Punk, maybe some random on Friday, and then over the weekend I'll be watching Mania, so I won't be found much there. But then I'll be back on Monday giving Punk a hard time while watching the Raw after Mania, and then Tuesday will be ToyLeet Takeover if I'm not hungover from Mania and all of the printer fumes that Ted told me I should be careful of. But with that said, you know what we say every week. Stay wonderful.
never miss. Let your toys breathe, let's do this. Toys on the desk, it's the new habitat. ToyLeet Takeover, we're loving that. It's a step high in the air where it's at. Everywhere's a playground for Mr. Wonderful. In the office, living room, let them breathe. Action fix hit the trail through the mud and under sail. It's the ToyLeet life beyond the shelf we prepare. Figures and cents in perfect place with hexes stacked beyond the space. From battle seeds to epic quests, our collection's always at its best.